night, the city lights are dancing, slowly falling apart. The shadows causing an outbreak. I'm wishing upon a star. This time I'm feeling stronger, and I know I can do better. The shadows causing an outbreak. I'm turning the light. We're gonna light it up, oh, light it up, light it up.
It is time to start the new League of Legends Spring Split. I am Stanley Greyheart Barker, and he is the reckless to my Greyheart, Alex Hapgood. It's Nymera.
It is, and I'm right back where it started for me. This is actually the anniversary of my first year of casting, and one of my very first live casts was right here on the Newell stream back in spring 2020 with that guy. That's the way I got to point. That guy over there.
And so much has happened in this last year. It's been a crazy old year for the world in general. You've obviously had now a year in casting, got to see some great stuff. One of the great opportunities we had to cast was the final of the Winter Split, and boy, what a game that was.
Absolutely. 5-game series between a team from Ken, Cabbage Family, one of the long-time reps of Newell, they've been around for a while, versus DMUT1, who took last split by storm across the UK university level. They did end up winning 3-2 in those finals. It was a close run affair. There were 2 pentakills. It was wonderful. I get to hear this guy shouting his head off, and it was good fun all around.
And I'm sure we're going to get more quality games today. We are running through a single best of one round robin between all of the 12 teams who have made their way to Varsity. I think I've got those numbers right.
Yep.
And we're going to get to see 3 of those games, 6 of those teams in action today.
Exactly. So that's 12 teams facing off against each other. So that's 11 matches, which means 11 rounds altogether for this Varsity, which of course were determined by their finishing places last split. A number of them qualified towards those prize playoffs. That's the finals we were just talking about between Cabbage Family and DMUT1. But actually, the gap between qualifying and not qualifying was a single game. I think one of the regions, it might have been North, had about 5 teams stuck on about 2 losses and the rest were wins. Absolutely insanely close, which means that even though the seeding for this week's games might be a bit skewed, or it might look like that, I reckon we're still going to have a lot of upset potential, a lot of good games.
I think you're absolutely right, because actually there was, even though they didn't get to play off for the prize playoffs last time round, the teams that made it through the Varsity qualification, teams like the Surrey Stags, for instance, who we're going to be seeing very shortly, they actually had to do really, really well to even make it through to Varsity. They went up against some real tough teams. Teams like Heartstuck came through with flying colours and now will be looking to duke it out with the big guns, the teams that played for the prizes in winter. And boy, what a prize they're playing for here in spring as well. Anything I say is not by any means a vocal contract or anything, but I do believe that there is the prize of the potential to go to the LEC studios. Obviously, pandemic allowing it, etc. But there's some absolutely cool stuff that can be won by these teams. It's not just that opportunity of representing at UEM.
Of course, so actually our victors from last split, the MUT1, will be going to that. They have qualified already, but if you do end up finishing well in this split, I believe it is the victor of Newell will go into like a last chance playoff to go into the higher level of university competition, playing against teams all the way across from Europe. Of course, we've had a couple of updates from our casting colleagues across various regions to see how their regions are going, and it's looking to be very, very spicy, very competitive. We loved doing it last year, and it all starts here in the Newell. It can all start off with a couple of these games.
It will indeed start off with a couple of these games. The first game that we are going to see is going to be Bristol Whip going up against Surrey Stag. Bristol Whip themselves, a team who represented the UK UEM, unfortunately went out in the group stage despite their best efforts. Our second game tonight will be the Cabbage Family, who you referenced earlier on, going up against ESSKT. And our final match, we'll be seeing our defending champions DMUT1 going up against Careless.
And Careless from the University of Leicester. They used to be called Fearless. I just love what they do with their names. They're consistently one of my favourite team names across there. We've been chatting with the team captains, getting a feel for the lay of the land and seeing how people are feeling. Every captain we've talked to has been absolutely stoked, very much enjoying the season, and I think we've got very much the same opinions over here on the caster desk and of course in production too. We're all very excited to bring you this split.
We are very excited indeed, and actually really excited even just to get into this first champ select. We'll be into that just as quickly as we can. We'll bring you all of the action as it comes. One of the things that we're going to be able to do, I believe, is also to run a little bit of a poll out there on Twitch chat, so you can let us know who you think are going to be taking.
And we can tell you why you're wrong. Yes.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, if Alex tells you why you're wrong before the game, then you're probably right.
I wish that made less sense, but he's not wrong.
Well, anyway, we'll get to that as it happens. Anything new for you in 2021? I see the Ari Shrine is still well and intact.
It is. Actually, speaking of that, there's actually a statue which I did get, which is not down here because I ended up moving about for various internet reasons, so I could look in not pixelated fashion and so on and so forth. So I actually have a missing member of that shrine. Other things, I mean, I've just been making sure I'm keeping up with the current patch and trying to get some games in on the Rift. I'm actually very scared to play on my main account because I'm just like, oh no, what if I'm bad now? Then I realized actually I've always been bad, and actually what's the difference? But I mean, since we last had games on the Newell, of course the patch has changed a lot. We've had a lot of changes to the new items. We had stuff like mages building Muramana and Nash's Tooth and things going all over the place. But now, of course, next week will be the patch change, so we're still currently on 11.3, I believe. I don't think Viego is enabled as far as I'm aware, although I might need some confirmation on that in the chat. Lots of things to keep up with the meta, though, because this is still with Gordrinker being nerfed and a couple of things coming in across, which will be different from, of course, the last broadcast you would have seen from us in League of Legends, which would have been the finals way back in winter.
Yeah, the dust has somewhat settled from pre-season. Of course, the season itself has started up. Most of us have gone through our ranked placements and seen where we've ended up falling down to, if you're anything like me. Managed to claw my way back up a little bit. One of the main things that I've been seeing a lot of recently, it feels like a week hasn't gone by where there's at least one OP mythic item. Moonstone seems to be very much the talk of the town at the moment.
It is, and it's getting nerfed next patch, so get used to it for this week, and hopefully we'll see a little bit less of it. You see, this is something, right? So last split, because of course we have caster pairings where there are us two, and then we kind of rotate out to make sure that we get a lot of different faces, so you can look at us and hopefully avoid us and all the other stuff. But we were on the rotation where every Wednesday was the exact patch day release, so we were starting going like, okay, what's happened today? What do I need to read up in the next couple of hours and get used to? Luckily, that's happening next week, so I don't need to be paying attention to that nearly as much. So Melvin, good luck.
Yeah, we certainly drew the short straw a number of times on the last split where we seemed to be the pairing that got to deal with patch day, and also I believe there was a time where we were casting UEM and things dropped like the night before, so that was great fun to deal with. Don't have to do that one this time around. And actually, you mentioned in there, just quickly, a shout out to Melvin Izzle returning from last split, and also to our new caster who is a Brackish Brit, who will be coming, I believe, for their first cast next week.
They will be, yeah, and very, very talented bunch we've got with us. Just a quick update, Viego is enabled, so there is every chance we see a lot of different champions played by the same person as they ARAM, like, on their own accord, kill someone, take on their form, and then go through the whole team. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you got a slight eye-popping moment out of me there. I was expecting the Viego to be disabled, given just how it does feel like when it's enabled you have more bugs than in a Kha'Zix all-for one, but never mind. We'll maybe deal with that one as it comes through. No. Jin and Ude both going to get banned away in the early phases. Jin has, for the last patch or two, been one of those S-tier ADCs alongside Kai'Sa, and it's not going to not be given over to Lamborghini this time around.
Well, he literally has the champion in his name. This is what you do with people like that. I mean, the next level big brain strat is to name yourself after a champion you don't actually play and see if people can ban it.
Champ that you hate, and then you get to see it banned away every game. You're like, cool, I don't have to ban Echo anymore because I've called myself Vertical Horizon.
Oh, what a song that was. So, a couple of things coming through. Looking at Easy Game GG down on that side for Sorry Stags. Played a lot of engaged champions, but the Leona is first and foremost among those. When we've covered Bristol Whip, though, they kind of play a bit of everything, and they're relatively open about what they draft. I'd say they tend to focus a lot of things which can impact the game early for Gadunica. Gadunica and Evan on the top side of the map are really, really good as a duo. This is basically the combo which won them the 2020 Newell Spring, where it was effectively just top diff through the jungle top duo, but they're going straight towards Senna, which has been rising in popularity with the Kraken Slayer Rageblade build.
Well, with the Jin and the Kai'Sa both banned away, Senna's certainly one of those top tier remaining. That interaction you're just talking about there with the Kraken Slayer and the Rage Blade. Do you want to tell us why that's so great for Senna?
Oh wow, this will be like the third or fourth time this has come across my cast recently. Basically, because Senna's Q counts as an auto attack and applies with a load of on-hit effects, it applies the on-hit damage from Rage Blade. Senna gets a lot of crit from her passive, so that's really important. Kraken Slayer gives you a stack so when you auto attack and Q, it allows you to go through your Kraken Slayer stacks very, very quickly. And for each individual target you hit with your Q on Senna, it actually applies another stack. So you can basically get like auto and then instant Kraken Slayer, keep putting it out. Plus, Senna doesn't particularly care about actual crits anyway, so doing all that stuff with crit items, it just tends to help.
All right, just having confirmation coming through from production, the Fantastic Pants once again with us, that the Yuumi that you see there is actually a Rel.
They don't look remotely the same unless Yuumi was slightly larger, like actually ran on all four lanes, and was also made of metal, and then also had someone riding them. Like, it's very different, you know, I just don't get it.
Yeah, it is a slightly confusing one. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Viego for the first time.
Okay.
I'm excited and terrified at the same time.
Same, because I'm sat there, I'm like, oh my gosh. At least I don't need to remember the ability names, because that's your job. Good luck with that. But I think mostly we've seen a lot of Viego mid. There were some nerfs targeted at Viego mid. That doesn't mean it can't be still played there. My worry is it's still kind of blind picked. It might end up going towards that jungle role as well. It does have that flexible potential.
It certainly does. Last pick there is going to be the Lilia coming through as we start to see the bans coming thick and fast once more. Hecarim going to be taken away, so it's not going to be that classic jungle of who's going to get to whose Raptors fastest. And now two bans to come through from Bristol Whip.
Or as I like to call it, the bargain bucket duo. That's what we go for here. It's like watch out Eep, as my brother likes to call it. Eep is actually an acronym for eviscerates enemy poultry. There are just no chickens left on the map, and Lily will be having none of that.
As equally terrible and wonderful at the same time. It's nice to be reunited with my casting duo. Together we have many names. We we could be seen as what was the one I came up with the other day? Stalix.
Yeah.
Grey Mara has been said.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think we're Punzeros. So Yone is going to be taken away. Camille is removed from Evan's top.
Yeah, just a quick warning about us as a cast duo. We sometimes get a bit silly.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No silliness in the top lane though. Lots of carries removed. We've got the Camille away. Camille's getting nerfed a little bit next patch, but not right now. Just very, very strong. Combos up with a lot of good stuff like Galio, Nocturne, which kind of flies into Camille's lane after they've hard engaged. So none of that will be available. Okay, if Azir gets locked in, I think that Viego does have a chance to all-in that matchup, but you get poked out pretty hard. I wonder whether that's a good... Because, again, like I'm not necessarily sure on the matchups for Viego right now, particularly in that mid lane. So this, of course, can still be flexed into jungle. This is a question of where's the power pick that they want to get, and what's the best matchup they can actually field for this Viego, knowing the mid and jungle matchups now.
Yeah, very, very good point. We'll see those last couple of lock-ins coming through. Certainly seeming likely at the moment, but like you say, a lot of flex potential there. The casting is going to get locked in. Last time that we saw this one, I believe, on the Null, it had a pretty outstanding game. And unsurprisingly, as soon as it got to level 16, it was just obliterating everybody on the Rift. As the Aatrox looks likely to be locked in, does almost certainly confirm Gadunka is going to be the first person on the Null stream to get to play Viego.
Does look like that. The worry I have now is that Viego is not great early pressure jungler. And you have a mid lane which just doesn't exist for the first few levels in the game, especially against Azir. You can get poked out, you can really get a really bad end of a lot of the trades there. And then you're against a Lilia who's really good at invading, really good at putting the pressure on, and Azir, which can push for days in the mid lane. And now you've got the Renekton combo on that top side. This is a really...
Just to interrupt you before you start, I believe I just heard someone say that the Renekton is Urgot.
I mean, still similar kind of story. I was like, okay, Renekton Lily is a really good combo, but looking at the Urgot, still a lane you can play around as the Lilia, run up towards that top side, and get some really good kill combos off of. So I look at this from Bristol Whip, and I think, you have to be so careful towards the mid to top side of this map in the early game. But we do know that they have the skill as individual players and as a cohesive unit to do this. Of course, they have won the Null split before, so they'll have to show that they do have that class against Surrey Stags, because they're no slouches either.
Yeah, team with huge experience, though, as you have just started to say, they're not just here at the Null, also in UK tournaments, but also at UEM. Okay, they weren't quite able to bounce back and to take maybe the knockout position, or even go all the way to the trophies that we'd hoped that maybe they'd do for the UK. But they still had some good showings, and they got all that experience behind them. We're going to get the opportunity now to see the teams as they actually line up. Of course, we were dealing with proxy picks last time around, so just going to see the teams quickly bash through this one. And yeah, is there a particular lane, a particular matchup you are most fascinated by? For me, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm looking towards the bottom half of the map.
Okay, so I'm just looking once again to go. So we've got the Tristan Rel compared to the Senna, and remind me of the support which is locked in for Nibble there on the side of
it was Alistair.
Alistair. Okay, yeah, so that's you do have I actually really like the support match. People are like, oh no, it's two tanky supports. Whatever shall we do? No, Rel Alistair is really, really fun because you look at Alistair and you think, wow, he's got a really good combo against melee champions. Alistair tends to really punish a lot of these all-in lanes. Well, if you end up using your pole before Rel has used the crash down, she can use that to get on top of your AD carry. But if Rel uses that W first, you do kind of smash down, you try and get those knockups, you can get pulverized out of that relatively slow animation, which means that actually it's kind of like the old samurai movies where the person who moves first is often the one that loses. It's about having those forcing out those combos in a defensive situation and then capitalizing when they don't have those cooldowns. So I actually really like this, and of course with the two AD carries that you've got, there's no lack of damage down there on the bot side.
No lack of damage, but there certainly is more mobility for the Tristana. That potential to go all in, to be fully aggressive as the magnetic field goes down, certainly will be there. Interesting interactions, I think you just touched on briefly there, such as exactly what the Rel can do to the Alistair to stop the chain of the combo. That's one we've got to keep our eye on, because if Easy Game GG is able to stop the headbutt pulverize in its tracks, that leaves Alistair in a whole heap of trouble.
Oh yeah, I actually completely forgot to mention that, so thanks for letting me remember that. Yeah, so of course Rel has that stun around them. See, this is why I've got you as a cast. You could manage to pick all this stuff. So Rel has a really quick to press stun. So if you see Alistair going for the headbutt, of course you can't cancel that ability as Alistair. So if you get into range of your ally or yourself that's got the tether, the attract and repel, and then you trigger that stun, then they can't just pull. So then just whoever gets targeted just gets yeeted out of the fight. They're disengaged. They don't care about it anymore, and the fight's over.
Well, hopefully now that we've got these drafts completed, Bristol Whipped on the blue side, Stags on the red, we're able to run our little poll, and I believe I've just heard it is now live, so get in there in Twitch chat, let us know who you are backing. Before we get to hear what the general populace think, who's your money on going into this one, Nymera?
I really worry about playing Viego Cassidy as a mid-jungle 2v2. I'm going to give it to Stags. I think it's much easier in the early game for them, and they don't get outscaled either, which is often what you're banking on with this Cassidy and the likes of Viego too. So I'm giving it over to Stags on draft alone. Nameplate's on, though. Maybe it gets a bit more even. That's
really interesting, because I have to admit my prediction is based on having those nameplates on, because frankly they are. And and I look at this Bristol Whip team, I know have a certain amount of pedigree, a team who I know if anyone's going to get to the late game and still be even, or at the very least close enough behind that they're still able to be relevant, I think Bristol Whipped are good for that. And that's why I think that coming into Viego later on, looking towards that Cassadin, the Senna with the stacks, I legitimately believe that they are going to have what it takes to take the first game of this broadcast. Yet again, we disagree. Yet again, we will have to see who's right.
Yeah. My worry is effectively that even though you've got like the casting, which does pretty well into the multiple AP threats, and yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, what's he gonna do to stop your Aatrox getting dived? Like there's gonna be a point where you've got like this Lilia and the Urgot comboing up against Evan, and if they don't outplay, that is such a hard combo to outplay up on that top side. I just can see that this top side is gonna get pretty rolled. From the side of Bristol Whipped, and I think Stags can play around that lane.
I like that it looks like we've got this poll available for another 13 minutes, so you've got plenty of time to wait and see what happens in the early game before you make your prediction. But certainly at the moment, 2/3 of Twitch chat is going alongside the superior analyst that is Greyheart, and saying that Bristol Whipped is good for this game.
No, I mean, they're very talented players, and it's not like it's a draft capitulation. I think that there are definitely areas in the maps which both these teams can play around. It's just, to me, the question is, like, if both junglers go top and then the Azir actually has an opportunity to influence something pre-6, I just can't see Bristol Whip coming ahead in that area of the game. And then playing Aatrox from behind is just really annoying. It's just really annoying. Whereas Urgot is pretty okay. I actually don't know whether Urgot's building Kraken Slayer anymore, because you can build that on the W and just like chain through so many Kraken Slayer procs. But we'll have to see what Huria's got up there in the item builds for Urgot.
Up the multiple sleeves that Urgot must have.
Trouser sleeves, trouser legs.
So early, and he's already broken me. Yeah, I'm really interested towards the jungle matchup as well. You've touched on it quite a lot as well. Low impact early on for Gadunica on the Viego. I touched on, we both touched on the fact that Lilia can come in, steal away camps with ease. I do have fears for the Viego, that they're able to get going, that they're able to pick up enough of the farm.
And one of my other worries is that, okay, so say Viego gets even in this early game, right, and actually manages the path well enough to just kind of avoid the enemy jungle matchup. And that's what, we've seen those transferable skills on champions like Sejuani, Zac, other champions which don't really like to tussle with the enemy jungler early. So you get into a fight and you have this Viego and you have this Caston. Well, you still have to deal with Arel, who's really good at disengaging melee team fighters. You've got the Urgot, who just chews people up if they get in range, and then the Sleep sets up for all of them to do the dirty work, right? Azir can wall you out. I'm looking at this with the Buster shots here from Tristan. I'm thinking, oh crap, that's a lot of melee short-range champions from the side of Bristol, which could have a hard time if Sorry Stags manage to get to an objective first and form that so-called phalanx.
Okay, well, we'll keep our eyes on that as the game starts up. Just a couple of moments as they load into the Rift. Then we will bring you all the action as it occurs. Let me take a moment to say thank you very much for joining us on this first broadcast of the Norse League of Legends Spring Split. If you have the opportunity to do so, please follow us on our various social medias. You can see both mine and Alex's just below our names here. So always appreciate a follow over there. It means a lot to the casters, and also to ourselves at the Null as well. Drop the Null a like. Follow us over here on Twitch and anywhere else as well. While you're at it, I believe it's at Patrick Prod. Go drop pants a like. The man's a gold.
Prod Patrick, I believe it is.
Prod Patrick.
Prod Patrick. It's just a shame it's not pants, which is a name which he's completely decided for himself and has not been propagated by either of us to in any way, shape, or form.
We are on to the Rift for the first game of the split. We are watching Bristol Whipped up against the Surrey Stags, and right now it is going to be Surrey Stags who we follow out of their base as they go towards a defensive line.
We'll be looking up at this. There's nothing like a Nautilus or a Braum or a Morgana or anything like that. So we're not going to have too much at the level 1. Actually, Easy Game GG might crash down over the wall and see if we can catch someone out. That would be a very Rakan-like start. You can start W. Well, you've seen a couple of those where you get out of vision and see what you can do with that. But not going to be the case. Just trading some wards in this early game. And we're going to recall.
Yep, it's just going to be the slow, steady start, which makes perfect sense given the two teams we had. There was never really any particular setup for an invade. I mean, potentially could have had it out of the Alistair Senna combo, I suppose, but I feel like it would have been a little too risky at this stage of proceedings, especially for a team that's looking towards late game.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the other side of this bargain, right? We're like, okay, so if I was giving these to two LCS teams, LEC teams, LCK teams which, are at the higher end of the competitive ladder in World League of Legends esports, maybe you think, okay, the early game from Surrey's team comp would be enough to say that they kind of shoot in on that top side, and if Aatrox falls behind, it's kind of difficult. But the question is, do these teams, and particularly Surrey in this case, do they have the ability to pull off the early game advantage they have towards this top side of the map in a meaningful enough way to give them leverage over the mid game?
I see your point, but I think even drawing sort of the values, whereas they equate to something along the LCK, hold on a second, because Easy Game GG and Lamborghini, they are looking to try and get the early play. Knockup is going to be good enough to stop Easy Game GG trying to get onto Manuxas. Explosive shot will go off, but in the end, it is going to be the trade going just about in favour of Bristol Whipped.
It is actually, well, the thing about Tristana in the early game, you have Hail of Blades, but you got to use those auto attacks if you are going to get that bomb off. Doesn't get enough, but Nuxas gets to run it back, using the Glacial and the move speed you get from Senna's passive to get those two-man Qs just all the time. It's so annoying playing against Senna.
Easy game GG trying to go aggressive, but the minute it's Nibble getting the better of things. I say that as he slips just below 50% health. The cow has got to be careful. Healed up a little bit there by the center. But just to go back to where we were as the action started for real down on the bottom half of the map, you look towards those LC teams. And again, I think the nameplates become quite important, because if a team like a G2, for instance, has this Surrey Stags combo and they're playing against maybe someone like an XL who's been losing a few matches later, I think, yeah, you say then definitely. But if the teams are switched around again, then you say, oh yeah, G2 have definitely got the ability to get to late game against someone like Excel. So I think at the minute, this is our first opportunity to see Bristol Whips and Surrey Stags against each other and see which of them has really got the pedigree to make this composition work and maybe set themselves up for the rest of the split.
Yeah, for sure. And we know that Surrey got to hyper late game in some of their games in that qualification tournament, and they did really well at that state. We know that they have some skill. Whereas, I mean, I'm looking at Bristol Whip, but they've proven that they have what it takes to become the UK University champions. Like, they've done it already. It's just seeing whether they can reprise that and, of course, get up onto that European stage. There is a question about what form are these teams coming into this split with. This is their first game on stage for the Newell this split. But then there's also the question about class. How much, because form is temporary, class is forever. We know that Bristol Whips are amongst the classier teams in the Newell.
I think you've made the point absolutely beautifully there, to be honest, Nightmare, and it really echoes what I'm feeling. We don't know who are the G2s, who are the XLs of this 12-man varsity right now. We might be about to find out. Nibble going to get knocked up, going to get pulverized back as well, and this is not looking good for Easy Game GG. Flash and heal already, but Nuxas is going lower and lower, hasn't used the flash or heal themselves. Lamborghini having to burn the heal, Easy Game GG having to burn the flash. The trade not going well, but Easy Game GG trying to go aggressive.
Keeps going.
Caught out by the root, but Nuxas goes into the shroud, staying invisible. Nibble trying to do the work that he can, has to flash away. Lamborghini still putting out the damage, going unfocused. Easy Game GG is low. Here comes Ken from the background. It is going to be the Lillian looking for the way in. Easy Game GG and Lamborghini shoving this one forwards. Still no one dies so far in bot lane, but that's not going to be the case for long. Surely
no one has the health bars.
Has to be very, very careful. Gets caught out by the slow, dashes away from the root. Meanwhile, in top lane, Hurrier caught out by Viego, is looking for his first kill in the null. Instead, he has to flash away. He could get first blood, and instead, it's going to be Ifan. He's the one to get first kill, but it's equalised on the bottom half of the map as we see Lilia taking down the centre. Nibble now stuck between a rock and a hard place. 3v1 on the turret, but the cow is safe.
Oh, and I wish he was called, well, I bet he wishes he was called Bite or Chomp right now, because he can only take a nibble out of all three diving members of Surrey Stags, and they get away with murder, and that murder is onto Benuxas on the center. They'd had some really good trades. Ken returns up with like a third HP, can't finish anything off, and we're into a pause, and I guess we're gonna try and recover all of that.
It took less than 5 minutes, and already the action is raining down on us.
Yeah, the stream's been live for 40 minutes, Stan. We have 3 games to do. The game is in for like 5 minutes so far. Are you going to survive?
No. So anyway, let's talk about some of the action that went down there. A crucial amount of survivability put down by the Bristol Whip bot lane. It bought enough for the counter gank to happen up on top side, where all of a sudden we see the first blood coming in for FN.
So, I mean, this is a really important moment in the game, right? Because you can look and say, oh, it's just a first blood. Well, okay, the 3-man dive is very exciting. But, like, you look at the first blood and it goes over to the Aatrox. This is exactly the lane we said, right, well, aren't Bristol going to get rolled up here? Because how do you fight against, like, the Azir priority allowing Lilia to push in topside? You surely can't fight against that, right? Well, Evan takes some really good trades in the early lane, gets the Urgot down really low, and they just dive the guy. Like, he can't do anything. And now, that top side of the map, which we had assumed, or at least I had, and, well, you know what it's like with me and my predictions, that Surrey should be running that half of the map. Now they haven't. How do they start turning around that game and this early game expectation, which they've failed to meet right now?
Well, speaking of predictions, I'd like to go back to our Twitch predictions, which we clearly intentionally put on for 15 minutes, because with that extra little bit of time, it's 66% in favour of Bristol Whip, only down to 52% against 48 now. So things definitely very, very close between what people out there think, certainly even with the opportunity retrospectively to see the beginning of the action.
Absolutely, yeah. It's you know, it's basically our version of, you know, what crowd chants would be going on in the football stadium right now, and be a whole mess of everything as it goes through. Lilia and Kevin getting really low, farming up the rest of the chickens, but it hasn't backed yet. Of course, got that kill down on the bot side. I want to see what item they're going to go towards. We do see a bit of Moonstone, we do see a bit of Leandries and stuff too, but it's actually just going to be the Iron Boots picked up first. Really cost efficient for your first item, because unlike before, so it gives you 20 ability haste, and you think, oh, that's 20 cooldown reduction, right? Well, not quite. Ability haste is, it gives diminishing returns. The more you buy of it, the less valuable it is, but getting 20 off of boots is so nice in the early game for the cost they're at.
Huria taking a little bit of aggro here from Ifan, who of course has that advantage, got the Iron Spike whip as a result. I had a chat with Huria, who's the captain of Stags, a couple of times in the last couple of days, and just asked, just prodding him for a bit of info on the team. He was saying how quite a few of the team, not the biggest fans of the kind of preseason, the current season, with the way things are working out. So we'll see if that reflects at all in the way they play this game. He does say, however, that the team is quite confident. They've been playing well together. So yeah, so far very, very close. There is that 500 gold lead, but it could be equalised out if Kenra has their way. They go quite low up.
Flash.
If you see the teleport coming in, it's going to be Caston making it a 2v2 in the top lane. As a result, Ifan burns flash and teleport is burned from Chentang, but no kill.
It is. So the lane advantage for Evan is not reset in any way, not a big enough chunk to force them to recall, and does of course get away without losing their life. So now you've still got the Urgot who's suffering on the top side, and Chentang going for a big old fight in the jungle.
I'll tell you what, why wait for level 16 when you can be level 6 and bop heads? Lily is going to die by their own red buff, and this one's going to get passed over to Gadunica.
So, chat, if you don't mind just keeping track of the Caston's levels, because of course we do have the level 16 end game counter. It's in the bottom lane. It's not the end game yet, but they're definitely going in.
Oh, headbutt straight into turret range. Lambin gets stunned up, and that's going to be a kill. Nibble taking away, I believe, with the ignite, sadly. Meanwhile, Huria is caught out as Gadunica tries to go aggressive, using that shroud, using that invisibility to get the extra speed. Meanwhile, IQ's trying to do what they can, but Chentang, the recipient of a free kill, essentially.
Look at this. Look at the HP bar. Stun comes down. Dive is complete.
Oh, Huria, he was such a nice guy in Discord, and now he's dead.
That's how we judge our players here in Newell. You want us to be nice to you on cast, you're nice to us in Discord first. Bristol Whip's top side of the map, absolutely not being nice to Huria on that Urgot, though. It's a lot of pressure towards a champion, which is useful for their ultimate, but much like Aatrox, needs to be getting into the thick of things, of being so far behind with CS to death, losing turret plates. Gonna be a struggle now.
The thing is, I feel like as that gank came in onto top side that we saw from Kenra a little while ago, had they made the play happen there, I think Huria could well have been right back into the game. As it is, he's now just been put further and further behind. And not only that, but as the teleport came out, Chentang, we did see that he was able to pick up a kill in the opposition jungle. Nibble just playing with his food at the moment.
I don't think he's playing with it. I think he's in for the kill.
Tries to go aggressive, but the Drowsy will come in. The sleep from Kenma getting a little bit of damage down onto the Alistair in the end. Azir able to stay safe courtesy of a well-timed Shurima shuffle.
Wait, I saw the mana pool on Ikus there, thinking, hang on, got enough for a WEQ combo. It turns out he did just about. This is also gone Halo Blades, by the way. It's nothing like going for the sorcery primary with something like the Comet. I'm not sure what the secondary runes are, but Ikus caught out a little bit, and Nibble making their presence known. Of course, didn't die on that first dive on bottom side. He's come up with two pretty impactful plays in the last minute.
Yep, we are still waiting on any neutral objectives to be picked up. It's going to be a Mountain Drake that is available for both these teams first of all, but we'll have to wait just a little while on that one. That 4 kills to 1 scoreline plus some nice CSing does mean a near 2,000 gold lead has been built up by our former UEM representatives. Yet again, if I'm really showing his class up in the top lane on this Aatrox.
Absolutely. On the bottom side, things not going so well. Bristol Whips aren't really the team to play massively around bot side of the map because they have Evan on the top side, right? And Gadunica tends to play towards, well, most junglers, let's be honest, tend to play towards top side. And speaking of that, doing it again.
When does this become cyberbullying? Huria getting absolutely dunked on yet again. Viego getting the kill this time. Gadunica could be happy to take that one. Ethan perfectly dealing with the turret aggro. Herald will crash as well, having just been secured by Gadunica. And now we also see our first opportunity of those souls being possessed by Gadunica. There was an extra Urgot on the pitch just for a moment.
Just for a short amount of time. Herald's still in top lane, going to get a charge into top lane inner turret. And I guess at least Lilia gets to get some farm on the bot side of the map. But speaking of Lilia's farm and Viego's farm, Lilia is not ahead in this matchup, is not ahead of Viego, who does so much damage when you build toward something like that first crit item and it gets towards, well, his own weapon, the Blade of the Ruined King, this is looking very scary for Sorry Stags now. They need to make a game-breaking play around the bottom side of the map to get this Trist ahead, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, Kenma's trying to make something happen. There is a good CS lead for Lamborghini, despite the death that they had under turret, which of course we saw Nibble picking up. However, that is not even close enough for me to feel confident in Sorry Stags right now, because Bristol Whip, the team with the late game composition, have dominated early.
They have, and what you're really waiting for is, again, just a play which gets gold onto someone you can play around. Maybe it can be Lamborghini. Maybe it can be Akus too on the Azir, because, like we were saying, at least a lot of Bristol Whips, bigger carries, are diving in. You've got the Castin, Viego, and Aatrox, who, if they are held back, held at arm's length by the Azir, the Lily Asleep, and the various forms of disengage that Sorry Stags have, maybe the longer range carries of the Azir and the Tristana can make things work. But you have to have the goal to make sure you're actually worthy of carrying this game at that point.
I don't know about you, but I feel like Easy Game GG will be instrumental in any success that Sorry Stags have, using that magnetic field to just pull those diving attackers away from the people you need to defend, keeping Tristana, keeping Azir healthy, that they can put out the DPS. Right now, we did see a little bit of a trade of objectives. The Herald, of course, went down on top side in favour of Bristol Whip, and they were able to get not one, but 2 turrets with it. As a response, the Mountain Drake did go over to the Sorry Stags.
It did too, but I mean, I don't think Bristol are particularly displeased by that. I mean, think, well, okay, sure, get yourself 1 dragon, but it's allowed Bristol Whip to keep stacking up those items. They could, maybe for the next dragon, they'll have a mythic on Casting, which they don't currently have. They have their mythics already. Stridebreaker on Aatrox, by the way, not going towards the Gore Drinker, and the Kraken Slayer already there for Gazunica. And when you've got Viego, who goes through so many auto attacks with the Q passive, where you do get that extra phantom auto attack afterwards, the on-hit damage you get to cycle through is really, really something. So having the Kraken Slayer gives you a large amount of burst on this champion.
Big questions I know a lot of people will be interested in. When will the Ruin King get the Blade of the Ruin King so that he can use Blade of the Ruin King passive? I guess we'll have to wait on that one a little while. As you say, Kraken Slayer complete. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a stop-off based on that Ruby Crystal.
Well, I didn't vote for the Ruin King, and other such references, which I need to remember the rest of. But we do have, of course, bot lane outer turret now under threat from Bristol Whip. They do have the cast and teleport coming up. They might look for a fight. This game GG does have the crash down, doesn't choose to make anything happen though, and as you were saying, that Rel will have a lot of the engaged burdens put on their shoulders. 1
minute left of turret plating. So far, it is 6 teleports to 5. This could be a big all engage on the bottom half of the map. Chentang coming in with the teleport once again, looking to go aggressive, perhaps onto Lamborghini, who has not got the rocket, the jump available. Uses Buster Up, uses the flash, being kept alive by Rel. Secondary teleport comes in. This is going to be the Aatrox and the Urgot both joining the fray. Easy Game GG going in, playing disruption, but now is dead. Venox is finding his first kill of the game, and now looking for more.
Wait, Rel?
Just going back to the safe. The turret is there, just far too late. As Efan goes monstrous, Gadunica finds a kill onto Huria, takes over a ghost and goes forward one more time. Senna finding the double. Ikus, the last survivor from this absolute massacre in bot lane.
So while we didn't see too much gameplay coming in from the stolen champions from the Viego, just having an extra cast of that Heartbreaker from Viego allowed them to get extra damage and extra gap close for this jungler. Of course, the big turning point of this play was Lamborghini had used the Trist W, that jump, that so important reposition escape tool earlier into that play, and Bristol Whip pounce on the opportunity. Teleports come in. Tower plates have now fallen. At least they won't lose any more of those across the map. Well, sorry. But now Bristol Whip, to, as we keep saying, have a late game scaling competition, find themselves hilariously far ahead in the early game.
Rel potentially looking to try and lock down on Chentang, forcing the flash out. Riftwalk will be available to get Chentang some further separation away from Ekus. I do want to give a shout out to Benuxas, who not only got the 2 kills there, but I believe I'm correct in saying landed an inch perfect route on Lamborghini, which forced that rocket jump away early. So as the teleports came through, there was no escape for the little Yordle.
The big thing is, I mean, we talked about, okay, Bristol Whip, they've had some time together as a team. Of course, last year in spring when they won, Nibble wasn't on the roster. I believe that was Longstaff back then, who's since graduated. So, of course, congrats for graduating Longstaff if you're out there watching. But this is a team which has the core of its team put together, and that means that often a lot of the communication habits that they've had manage to stick together too. They're using it to great effect in this game, and you can see when they are so coordinated on big plays like that, which aren't always as obvious when at the outset of the play. It's very, very important in this kind of tournament.
The question is, if you're Sorry Stags right now, Nymera, what are you thinking? How do you possibly deal with the onslaught of this late game team that have found themselves a 5,500 gold lead before 15 minutes?
Well, I'm hoping first that we can find a game-breaking bug so we can remake it. And then besides that, you are really looking to prioritize farm onto one of these long-range carries and stall out the game. You probably have to give up 2 dragons. You probably have to maybe even give up a Baron. But this is, if you can get to hyper late game, there's a chance. And I say that with hesitation, because it ain't good still.
Yeah, the stats are definitely not in favour of them picking up the win or you having a correct prediction. However, GG not going to give up his life just yet. Only the 1 death on the rel. Ethan looking to go aggressive onto Iku's, trying to find those sweet spots and finding 1, finding 2, finding the kill just as the Emperor's Divide comes through. Ethan absolutely monstrous in this game ever since picking up First Blood.
I like this guy. He's playing with aplomb, he's playing with flair, he's playing with solo kill potential. Takes down a turret for his name too. And the Stridebreaker Aatrox, the extra gap closer, working out a wonder for Evan.
Well, meanwhile, another turret will fall on in mid, and that is now 4 turrets to merely 1 secured by Stags. That was, of course, by the Tristana with her explosive charge down on the bottom half of the map. She did get a fair amount of gold shoved into her. The question is, can Kenma and Nuhuria do anything to Ifan? The answer is probably not right now.
There's probably a tongue twister somewhere in there. It's like, yeah, cool, nice, that works. So, I mean, at this point, it feels like a lot of this game will be a formality unless Surrey have a game-changing play somewhere, right? Because, like we said, there are dragons coming up, there are barons coming up. Maybe you can bank on a baron steal, right? Maybe, but it feels like that's the level of play you have to get towards. Because you were sat there asking me, well, what can you do? Well, it's not an easy question when you're, 8,000 gold behind at 16 minutes. Like, that's ridiculous. In terms of the percentage gold lead, that's almost like 30% extra gold to the side of Bristol Whipped, which is frankly absurd.
Yeah, undeniably true. Meanwhile, you look and you go, right, if the team comps were the other way around, if it were, let's say, Bristol Whipped with that lead, but Surrey Stags had the Bristol Whipped comp, a bit complicated, but stick with me. If that were the case, at least you'd say, they're scaling, they've got massive late game, Kassadin comes online. Well, tough luck. You're actually playing against the Kassadin.
Yeah.
That's certainly going to be rough.
And the other thing is that if Bristol Whip were behind, at least they have ways to make more macro plays and play skirmishy around side lanes. Whereas when you look at Surrey Stags, that Urgot is never going to beat this Aatrox at this point. You're 2 levels behind, you're full items worth of gold behind, and also in terms of your jungle matchup, Viego can solo out the Lilia if they start heading towards a fight from an unorthodox angle, trying to get a flank out of somewhere. If Viego finds someone in the jungle, they just straight up die. And let's not even talk about the Kassadin built up towards the Everfrost, which is a very strong item on the current patch. People really haven't found out the true limits of this item's power, mainly because people have been stuck on the Leandries and the Luden's hype for quite a long time. But this Kassadin can just roam so quickly. You're always going to be slower to the punch than Bristol Whip if they react in any semblance of timeliness.
We've got ourselves a little bit of a slowing down of the kills that had been picked up, and it's certainly Surrey Stags who have kind of had to take their foot off the pedal a little bit in terms of aggression that they themselves have put down. They've played with more respect. They may have found Gadunica out here, however. Lamborghini trying to find damage so far. We're seeing the Viego surviving. He flashes over the wall, courtesy of the Dawning Shadow. He has the shield to survive. Now Ethan joins the fight, finds himself 1 hotspot, and he's going to look to go straight in on Lamborghini, who's having to step away, trying to put damage down to Tristana, but already losing their support. Chentang finding yet another kill on this Kassadin. Gadunica once more entering the fray, looking for Huria, who's trying to escape down onto the bottom of the map, but there's no turret to be found. Ethan stops Kenma's back, and it is going to be the Aatrox popping down onto the Lilia. The tag of Huria with the root is going to be enough potentially to find the kill onto the Urgot. It's happening all over the map. We've got ourselves another Urgot, but now he's playing for Bristol Whip. This is absolute domination.
I'm going to throw it out there. I think it would do a little bit more work for Bristol because of the strength of its teammates being able to actually get down to the point where you can use the Urgot ult to assassinate someone. Surrey are just not at that position. They almost burst out Gadunica, but they're not quite in position and time. And then the flash Heartbreaker over the wall, over the Dragon Pit, gets Gadunica to safety, and the rest of the Bristol Whip team are already there. They rally behind their jungler and they take the fight.
Yeah, Tristan just about able to stop the Herald from crashing in. That's one saving grace there for the Surrey Stags. However, it is a minor win in the grand scheme of things. Gadunica taking away the Lilia's farm. This is kind of the opposite to what expected and almost wanted to happen in this game, just going way up on CS against the opposition.
Absolutely. And Kassadin is not level 16 yet, but does have a 16 somewhere on the scorecard because that's a 16 stack Medjai's Soul Stealer for Chentang on the Kassadin. It's a really cheap legendary item. Everfrost gives you 15 AP per completed legendary item after you complete that Everfrost as well. So it means that this Castellan is going to be full-on one-shotting people, very high amounts of AP, and going to be really diving into that backline. I look at this Azir, who has next to no defensive capabilities against this kind of relentless aggression, and I think, oh my word, if this Castellan gets into the backline, it's pretty much lights out, much like it'll be for Lilia right now.
Kenma goes gold, and that's not enough to survive. Whip tries to find the sleep, but it is not in time. Meanwhile, Lamborghini trying to defend up down on the bottom half of the map. That's also going to be a real big ask. Meanwhile, Baron has now spawned as we are nearly 21 minutes into the game. And that feels like it might be the next point of attention for this Bristol Whip lineup as they look to force with this vastly superior comp at this point.
So this is technically the point where Bristol could throw it. If there is an opportunistic Baron steal, anything could happen. But even then, that's still just stalling the game out for Surrey. It's not like it's actually getting them into a winning position, which is what they would really like right now, but would be so hard-pressed to find. I mean, you're also down levels across the board. 2 in the jungle, 3 in top lane, 1 in mid, and then a couple down in the bot lane too. This is, you're losing in pretty much every metric right now. Yep. If you lose someone stealing that Baron and have to defend 5v4, it's still not great for you.
Wow, just looking at the gold leads there, that is absolutely disgusting. Even the support with a 600 gold advantage over their rival. And I look at the KDs for Bristol Whipped, and I have put one question. 404, 205, 404, 215, 106.
Wow, they're winning 3v5.
But Nuxas, what are you playing at? I can't believe you don't.
Oh, well, it wouldn't have been the perfect game as the turret had been taken in that bot lane.
Yeah, and that was in bot lane as well. But Nuxas is letting the side down.
Well, I'm sure that's something that they can review. One thing they won't have to review, though, is a lot of their objective play. They fought when they were ready to fight. They're forcing away the team of, from the Baron contest. They couldn't get close. There's enough damage between Viego and the Senate to take down the Baron, and Bristol Whipped will slide comfortably into what we assume to be a game-ending position.
Certainly looking that way at the moment. So Stag's doing everything they can to try and put pressure down in lanes, to try and clear out vision, but it feels like it's all to no avail. But let me remind you, we have been here before in the UK scene, where teams have had upwards of 11, 12,000 gold advantage and have gone on to lose. Easy game, GGG, with the Hex Splash, looking to make something happen, throws down the magnetic field. It's a big pull onto 3. This could be the fight that's needed. Unfortunately, a bit beyond death, going just wide, but Nuxas finding first kill. Chentang looking for the second. Going for the kill, split evenly amongst those 3 members of Bristol Whip as they look to completely rout the Surrey Stags at the 23-minute mark. They take themselves a turret with Baron empowered minions. They will easily push onto the inhibitor.
And we asked if Surrey could not make a game-breaking play, would this just be a formality for the rest of the game? Turns out, yes. Yes, it is. Bristol Whip doing all Accords justice. I'm going to go rush it down to the Nexus.
That is going to be Bristol Whip looking to finish off their first game in style. Remember, this is a single round robin. There's no second game against each of these teams, so picking up a win against a rival can be huge come the end of the season. But here at the start of the season, it's Bristol Whip that look good. They have, however, been forced away from that last remaining Nexus turret.
Happened so far. I mean, I'm looking at that Baron power play, and it is frankly pretty nuts. 4.3k, and they'll get themselves a nice little reset off of that too. It's 1 minute 30 in Chill Dragon. It's not even like Surrey can go claim that as some kind of Pyrrhic consolation award. They get themselves a perfect reset to Bristol Whip. They get to use all of that gold. Heck, there's now 24 Magi's stacked up onto Castellan, who's getting up towards, of course, that level 16 mark, only 2 levels away, and has a Void Staff on top of that too, which is such an efficient item in the current meta of mage itemization. I'm looking at this Bristol Whip team and I'm thinking, well, if it wasn't easy to beat them before, now it's just got pretty much impossible.
Yeah, I think this is one of those where you look at it realistically and go 99% chance of a Bristol Whip win, 1% of a Surrey win. If this is, if this is on Paddy Power, they're paying out already.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think back to...
up to you.
I think I go back to a couple of... I think it might have actually been one of the G2 players last year who was thinking, look, there are some games where... Oh, no, actually, no, it was Bwippo, actually, from Fnatic who said it. It's like, there are some games where you pretty much lost the game. But honestly, there are more games tonight. There are more ways that you can still retain and regain a lot of your confidence. Just make them sweat. Don't let them take it easily. Fight until the end, until the last man, until the last Nexus has fallen. And sorry, we'll have to be looking to do that as Ken was just getting assassinated.
Yeah, Chen Tang just steps in and pretty much one-shots the remainder of Kenma's health. Of course, Kadunika having done plenty to start this one up. Now it's going to be the 4-man strong from Bristol Whip pushing towards this last Nexus turret, which has now been joined by a Sun Disc. I'm not entirely sure that is going to be the support that is needed, considering they're already missing their jungler. 5 versus 4 breaks out at the Nexus of the Surrey Stags. They tried to do what they can, but easy game GG, unable to stop the advance.
No!
Will come a kill on to Ifan right at the end. The game started with a kill for him. It ends with him diving the fountain and dying, but it is most importantly going to end with Bristol Whip picking up the victory and going 1-0 in the spring split.
Dominant as we knew them to be last year. That's the story we had into. I'm sure you'll get sick of it at some point. But this is Varsity. You don't get easy matchups. You don't get easy games. And Bristol Whip just rolled this game. They played through topside in a draft where we thought, okay, maybe that would be a little bit difficult when you're playing against the Lilia and the Azir, which you seem to get priority, but they pounced on every opportunity. They played safe enough in bot side to not let that one kill and that dive pay off early. And I look at Bristol Whip now and I think, okay, right, you've come out with a statement game. How far does this go?
I love it. I've just had flash across my screen. The predictions are in. Bristol Whip. Well, the predictions ended around about the same time that the game did, and they were correct. Well done to you guys in Twitch chat who went with the superior analysis and analyst, can totally say that word, and got things right. I don't have the opportunity, however, to give away the MVP. However, I will say before you give that award, Naimira, that for me, only eFans was worthy of it.
Yes, okay. I do think that top lane for Bristol Whip definitely gets there. Evan was just really, really lane dominant, going across the map, never really looks like they were in danger from anything because they were just outplaying everything. The one time a play which was made, which is slightly threatening onto Evan, he just flashes out the Urgot ult, gets a teleport, and just rolls over the rest of the game anyway. So I do think it has to go towards that top side, where it was just such a dominant performance.
Perfectly fair. We've got plenty more action here on the Nool stream, so we will be bringing you 2 more games after the break. Refresh my memory of exactly what those games will be. We will be seeing League of Legends, that's one of the things. Cabbage Family from Kent, they'll be going up against SSKT from Essex, and our last game of the night will be defending champions DMU T1 from De Montfort going up against Careless from Leicester. But before that, we will be having just a short break. Please stick around. We'll bring you more of this high-intensity League of Legends action very soon. Drop. I was told it would be on it. Oops.
it's coming at you like monsters in the night, and you feel the danger that makes you wanna hide when the cards are stacked against you and you're standing